वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्. The entire Bhagavad Gita appears to be a whole lot of different ideas put together in some haphazard manner. A lot of people wonder. Many things are said in the Gita. We don't know what we are finally asked to do, and so on. That is why in our tradition, great importance is given to having competent teachers. The teachers themselves find that challenge, how to arrive at the final statement, the summary, tatparya, the purport. So both students and teachers have to labor to keep in view the central teaching and understand how everything falls in its proper place, giving to us a comprehensive, coherent system of guidance. I am saying these words before we enter the 8th chapter, which we shall do in a couple of minutes. For the 8th chapter continues from where Sri Krishna and Arjuna had left at the end of the 7th chapter. In the 7th chapter, Sri Krishna once more inspires Arjuna to see presence of God everywhere, and he emphasizes the importance of purity of mind. When we are pure, we are not burdened by egoism, by some narrow agendas of our ego. Then the truth is difficult to miss. But if we are filled with some negativities, which could be sometimes even a dissatisfaction at our own progress, that's another issue. There are some who every day feel, oh, I am not reaching anywhere. That thought, I am not reaching anywhere, becomes a big obstacle. Drop that thought, you are okay. So, if our mind is pure in that sense, not pulled down by some unnecessary thoughts, then the truth of spirituality is so clear. Sri Krishna helps Arjuna to put aside so many negative thoughts which had risen in his bosom and have a clear view of his own role. Play that role and reach your spiritual goal. That was Sri Krishna's guidance all along. And what is that he said towards the end of the chapter, which provides a link to the 8th chapter? Having said a lot, Lord Krishna uses a couple of technical words, what we call paribhashika shabdas. Paribhashika comes from the word paribhasha. Paribhasha is the bhasha which is specific to a particular subject. It's not general language, but it is the special language of that subject. Today, in economics or in science, in history or in mathematics, everywhere there would be some jargon of that particular subject. Philosophy also has to have some paribhashika shabdas. They are unavoidable because in any subject, as you get going, even though part of you desires to avoid technicalities, let us keep it simple, you may say. But because so many issues come up, you have to explain them, and therefore examples come in, stories come in, illustrations and cross references, they come up, and technical words also come. So, in the previous chapter, that is 7th chapter, in the last two verses, 29 and 30, Sri Krishna, on one hand, summarizes his teachings of the previous 28 verses. On the other, generates what we call Prashna Bija. Prashna means a question. Bija means a seed. Even as he answers previous questions, he makes way for new questions to arise. Deliberately. Sometimes a good teacher knowingly creates one or two fresh doubts in the minds of the class so that they get eager to know, and next class they are waiting to get answers to those questions. Prashna Bija. He doesn't ask question, but he says something which prompts Arjuna to ask questions. So the words that he uses are Brahma and Adhyatma, thirdly Karma. Not that they have not come before, but now those words come against the backdrop of a whole lot of additional clarification he has given about this long journey of you and me called life. Our life is a very long journey. Don't we all sometimes wonder where we came from, where we will go? The Adhyatma Vidya is very clear. You need to go towards self-knowledge, towards knowing who you are. When one of the disciples of Ramana Maharshi asked the sage of Arunachala, what is the paramount duty of life? He did not say, like many of us generally answer questions. It depends on what you are, depends on your age, depends on your background, it depends, I get irritated when I ask somebody a question and that person just says, it depends, doesn't even complete the sentence. Many a time when they don't even complete a sentence, at least they should say, it depends on some factor, specifically. It depends on your age group, sir. Then I can tell him, well, I am 64, tell me for somebody of 64 years old. They just say, that's wrong English really, it depends. I nowadays, when I hear such incomplete sentences, if somebody says, it depends, I say, I know it depends on whom we ask the question. I asked the wrong person. I go my way. So, Ramana Maharshi does not say, does not bamboozle that student. Rather, says without batting an eyelid, as the expression goes, to know your true nature is the purpose of life. Full stop. Swasya Swarupa Vijnanam is the word he uses. You must know who you are. A very short chapter in Ramana Geeta is about that issue. What the purpose of human life is, And then, without wasting any time, the student in that chapter asks Maharshi Ramana for that Swaswarupa Vijnana, knowing our own true nature, what is the means? What is the method? There also, once more, Maharshi doesn't say, it depends on whether you are Brahmin or Kshatriya, whether you are woman or man, whether you are South Indian or North Indian. No such issue. Whoever you are, Westerner or Easterner, whatever your religion might be, whatever your color of the skin might be, the answer is for you to know who you are, you must turn your thoughts inward and stay at that dimension in yourself which does not change. विषयेभ्यः परावृत्य वृत्तिः सर्वाः प्रयत्नतः विमर्शे केवलं तिष्ठेत् अचले निरुपाधिके. One shloka and the answer is given. Amazing precision, crispness and right coverage of the topic. Therefore, Maharshi Ramana, with no PhD in philosophy, not having gone to any Gurukula and studied Vedas, etc., not having traveled and got his followers from everywhere, not with any campaign or media publicity, nothing. He, as though, did not want anything. He sat on the slopes of the Arunachala hill, uninterested in anything, not wanting to become a popular guru. That was not at all his agenda. But great scholars and eventually common people, people from the west, from the east, from everywhere, people whose faith of their birth was Christianity, Islam or Judaism, all of them came to his place. So, the word Brahma has been used by Sri Krishna, Karma has been used, and then Adibhuta, Adiyajna, and lastly, Sri Krishna said, people who have attained a certain level of purity, certain level of emotional balance, and are lucky enough to get some guidance at the right time, they will just go to that point of clear vision, and even during the time of dying, they remain unshaken. The body has gone very weak, functions of the body are much affected. One is not able to even breathe properly, one is not able to see, one is not able to hear. Everything is going down, but in their heart there is a clarity. Even as relatives and friends around that dying person might be pitying him, oh, this should not have happened to our uncle, oh, and so on. Imagine the person Sri Krishna is describing at the end of the 7th chapter, which we will take up in detail in the 8th chapter. Krishna describes somebody who is pitied on by people, but who himself neither pities himself nor pities others. He is happy. That's the beauty of Adhyatma Vidya. If you master Adhyatma Vidya, and as you come to the close of your life, people may come to console you. Oh, sorry to see you in this condition, bedridden. I'll tell you, people will come to console you, they will go back consoled. You will console them. Take it easy. You will guide those people, and they will be a bit confused, I tell you. We thought of cheering him up. But the opposite happened. The patient on the bed cheered us up. They will go back and say, don't you and I want that kind of state? That's what Sri Krishna says, Prayana kalecha mam te viduhu. Prayana kala is the moment of leaving this body, the final travel, antima yatra. That time also they know. So there are 7 questions: Brahma, Adhyatma, Karma, Adhibhuta, Adhidaiva and Adhiyajna. And then Prayana Kale Jneyatva. And we now take up the 8th chapter, and exactly those 7 are inquired into. Arjuna asks about them. Please repeat after me. Arjuna uvacha kim tad brahma kim adhyatmam kim karma purushottama adhibhutancha kim proktam adhidaivam kimuchyate adhiyajnah katham kotra dehesmin madhusudana prayana kale cha katham neyosi niyatatmabhihi. These 2 questions only, these 2 shlokas rather, only just put the words on the table. Oh Sri Krishna, wonderful, I am seeing some light now at the end of the tunnel. I am getting new hope. Thank you. All that is implied in the words of Arjuna. He surely is feeling much lighter already. And the purpose of the study of spiritual texts by you and me is that only. Our hearts are heavy with memories. Our hearts are heavy with some anxiety about what will happen. And if we study properly, if we do the anushtanas properly, which is a skill that we have to learn from teachers, and sometimes the best friend of yours is you yourself. You have to learn from yourself. Atma hi eva atmano bandhuhu, atma eva ripuratmanaha, says Bhagavan in the 6th chapter. Atma there means oneself. We are ourselves our best friends. At times, we have to carry both the external teachers and this teacher within us. So, questions are placed in front of Sri Krishna by Arjuna. Kim tad Brahma? Kim in Sanskrit means what? Bhavataha nama kim? I asked somebody. And she says, Mama nama Ashwini. Somebody asked the president of North Korea, Bhavataha nama kim? And his answer was, Mama nama Kim. For today, the president of North Korea, the dictator, is named Kim Jong or some such name. So question and answer were the same. Mama nama Kim. Arjuna uses the name of North Korean president at the beginning of this chapter. You want some favor from him sometime? God forbid you should not go near him. But in case, tell him, I am honored to meet you, Mr. President. I've heard a lot about you. Don't say bad things. I've heard a lot about you. And a Hindu from India I am. And one of the chapters in our Bhagavad Gita starts with your name, sir. He will immediately sanction whatever favor you want in his country. Kim tad Brahma. What is that Brahman that you spoke of many times really, but especially in this chapter, previous chapter at the end? And you said Adhyatma. Adhyatma also you have used several times. I have heard it elsewhere, and people attending these Powai Forum camps always talk about Adhyatma, but it is not clear what this Adhyatma is. One of my students long ago, especially I was not the main teacher, Swami Purushottamananda was the teacher. I was assisting him between 89 and 91, or 90 and 91. And there was a lady student from San Francisco. Every now and then she would say to either Swami Purushottamananji, the chief acharya, or the upacharya, me, who was a brahmachari that time, she would come running to us. I want to ask you something. What? I don't have the foggiest idea about what this sandhi is. To me, some Sanskrit and such questions. I don't have the foggiest idea. I learned that expression from her only. I don't have even the tiniest, no idea at all what this is. So Arjuna is asking, Kim Adhyatmam? Much used, probably much misused, like great thinkers complain. Great speakers sometimes complain that certain words have been overused and even misused. The best example is love. Bollywood, Hollywood, all of them use the word love to increase their box office, returns. You use the word love, many people want to see that movie, that play. And what quality of love they present there, God knows. Misused. So, in the religious jargon also, there are many words, and in a manner of saying, God knows what those words really mean. So, Brahma, Karma, Adhyatmam, right? Adibhutam, Adiyajna and Adidaiva, even you and I don't know much. But Karma and Brahma and Adhyatma, we use so much. And then the last part is Adiyajna ko katam dehesmin. Last part is Prayanakal. These two words I will not elaborate much, for they are just a list of questions. Katam jneyaha asi. How are we to know you? Though the word used is know you, what it means by context is how are we to merge with you? How are we to stay in that ego-free consciousness? For all our life, we are ego-ridden. Like they say, in some terrorist attack, somebody was shot 17 times. They use the word bullet-ridden body. 17 bullets all over his body. And we are outwardly, as Swami Chinmayananji used to use the expression, very well dressed, coated, booted, suited, he would say, in one of his examples. A coated, booted, suited man walks on the road. Outwardly, all of us look very smart. We put a smile. I don't know why they call it plastic smile sometimes. How are you? Before even the questioner completes his sentence, on top of the world, we say. But inwardly, our personality is ego-ridden. Everywhere there is so much of ego. To erase the ego is knowing God. In Advaita Vedanta, God realization is synonymous with absence of separate I. The separate I is the one that rises or falls. The separate I is the one that wins or loses, that feels proud at times and feels self-pity at other. And the Advaita talks about a certain understanding where you are established in an indescribable peace, indescribable love, indescribable and unshakable security, and you neither rise nor fall. Outwardly, you may. That is bound to happen. Outwardly in life, every one of us, whether we want or not, sometimes make money, other times lose money. Sometimes, expecting it or otherwise, we are praised by somebody. Some other time, we are insulted. And likewise, not only from others, people see from our face also sometimes a smile, sometimes a frown. So please do not misunderstand that an enlightened person remains so steady that no matter what is happening around him, his face will not show any expression. Rama Rama. It's not about reaching an expressionless face with so much sadhana. Finally, suppose you have an expressionless face. Nowhere Sri Krishna means that. Even when he says at places, Yona hrishyati na dveshti. One who does not get elated, nor does he or she get depressed, etc. That is a very, very inward story. Outwardly, just as anybody else, an enlightened lady also says how beautiful this morning is. Outward expression there is. And if things are not going all right, there is sorrow around, even an illumined woman would express concern. This is not how things have to be, she would say. Do not think that the humanness is taken away by spirituality. While remaining very human with all the genuine sentiments of anybody, there is something deep inside which remains unshaken. Through the thick and thin of life, through the joy and sorrow of life, the illumined person is united with God. And we use all these words, but we scratch our head. What does it mean? Therefore, this study. Study is extremely important. Some people think that why should we study all these books? Let us just meditate. If we do that, we will go to sleep. One is that. Another is we may not go to sleep, but some thought would arise in our mind with such strength, we get hijacked by that thought, by some narrow idealism. Suddenly we may think, I am going to work for some cause, religious cause or social cause. With due respect to all the causes under the sun, life is not meant for being hijacked by some cause. Rather, as we said before, life is meant for realizing the true nature of yourself, where actually, don't tell this openly or in public, you don't have to achieve anything at all. If you go on the rooftop, take a microphone and loudspeaker, announce, after the camp at Lonavala, I know that I don't need anything at all. Your spouse may not place the breakfast on the table because you announce you don't need anything. Outwardly, don't announce that. Inwardly, there is no need to become. And then do you become idle? Very interesting, the contrary. You will be working towards some causes. You will be actually involved in some good work, much more than before. But in your heart, things like, on the path of devotion, it is put this way. In your heart, you know, who am I to improve this society? God is running the show. God created this universe and He knows how to run it. Tena vina trinamapi na chalati. Even a blade of grass does not move. Therefore, inwardly you should know that it is God's show, we are only His instruments. So, the blending of this supreme wisdom, I don't need to do anything, and dynamism in daily life, spontaneously you respond to situations. Even as you are sitting on a bench in a park, enjoying the lovely thought, God is running the show. Everything He is doing, I don't have to do anything at all. You are enjoying that thought. Beautiful morning, a lake in front of you, and pleasant weather. You are in spiritual contemplation. Yes, what you felt was so true. You don't have to do anything. Suppose at that time a mother and child are walking, taking a morning walk, and suddenly the child falls down. Do you think that God will come and lift that child? I don't have to do anything. It is His show. That is idiotic behavior. You will go help. Maybe the mother needs some help. You say you need help. Then how do you reconcile? On one hand you say, I don't have to do anything. God is running the show. And on the other, you ran and picked up the child and asked the mother, and you had some first aid, something, please use this. I am carrying some band-aid. Somehow I had kept it. Use this on your child's, injured foot. Is it not contradictory to your lovely thought that you don't have to do anything and God will do everything? No contradiction. Even as you do all that, and that young mother finally picks the child and says, thank you, uncle, you did really great help to me, thank you very much. And she moves on with no wavering of any understanding. You will say, God made me go pick the child. God made me offer the band-aid which happened to be with me. God made that young lady say, thank you to me. It is all God in action. In this way, a kind of not just words and words, actual realization. In fact, I would add that in the actual realization, you yourself are your teacher. You yourself are the best friend of yours. Because you hear a lecture, you read a book, some guide inspires you, some guru, blesses you, all that is fine. But in actual situation of your life, there is no guru nearby, that physical guru is not around, the books are away. What matters is how your conscience speaks to you, how your own inner voice speaks to you. And if your inner voice, even as things go up or down, gives you a really uplifting message, your inner voice says, don't be worried. This is God's will. Accept this and be happy. Your inner voice says something so wonderful, so elevating. Then is it not true that you became your best friend? Morning, it is already 7:45 a.m., let's say, and you've already, on one hand you have got up late, on the other you've started blaming yourself. That's an old habit with you. I am no good. In fact, one of the mistakes I made was to enter spirituality. Before I entered into spirituality, I could have got up at 9 a.m. also and gone to the kitchen directly for singing a song. But after hearing all these swamis and camps after camps, getting up also causes guilt in me. Everywhere I feel guilty because they had put ideas of right and wrong so much into our head. Now everything, I can't eat ice cream without a hurt conscience. Because Geeta, other day, some Swamiji explained, a spiritual person has self-control. Am I violating my self-control by taking this ice cream and so on? Right? Now, to complete this example, you get up at 7:45. A tiny thought of guilt comes up. What is this? Where have I gone? And you start blaming everything. Then your inner voice says, wait. Spirituality never told you to regret, to feel guilty. You are getting up today at 7:45 also is wonderful. Take it in the right perspective. Don't be over judgmental. Try to understand maybe this body needed some extra rest. And by worrying, it's not going to get better anyhow. In fact, if it happens to all of us, right? Sometimes we feel so bad about getting up late. Oh, and filled with regrets, we need another half an hour now. Because to feel better, then tomorrow onwards I will get up at 4 a.m. There is some Brahma Muhurta yoga which somebody has launched. Dr. Mayur Kaku, has launched one Brahma Muhurta yoga. He wakes up people at 4:30 a.m. He means that program wants you to do that. 4:30 a.m. he teaches you some yogasana and pranayama. Thousands have joined it. One of them here also is a member of that. Brahma Muhurta yoga. So you say, tomorrow onwards I will join Brahma Muhurta yoga. But to get over this bad mood generated by this guilt and regret, I need to sleep 1 more hour now. That is what happens when you are over judgmental. So I went a little overboard with this, how to know God at the time of death. Connection is to be free of guilt or regret, to be free of shame or other negativities, is union with God. The two shlokas thus have placed everything on the table. Now it is Bhagavan Sri Krishna's turn, and he one by one answers the questions. Let's see. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Aksharam Brahma Paramam Svabhavodhyatmamuchyate Bhutabhavodbhavakaraha Visarga karma sannitaha. The first question was, Kim Tad Brahma? And Lord Krishna says, Aksharam, whatever does not decay, whatever does not perish, na ksharati, na nashyati, does not, it has no nasha. Aksharam Brahma Paramam. And yes, I did mention what we call later, this last part of the 7th chapter. Lord Krishna would not say, I mentioned in the 7th chapter. Lord Krishna said whatever he had to say. And probably in prose. The tradition believes that Sri Krishna said things in prose, in Sanskrit or Tamil, Konkani or whatever, we don't know what language. But it was Veda Vyasa who put them all the wise teachings of Sri Krishna into the 700 Sanskrit shlokas. That is what we read in Adi Shankara's commentary, that Bhagavan Vyasaha Sapta Shatabihi Shlokaihi Upanibabandha. Adi Shankara writes that Veda Vyasa structured the teachings of Sri Krishna Sapta Shatabihi Shlokaihi. In 700 verses, divided into 18 chapters. So, yes, I did mention Brahma, for those purified beings know Brahma. They know what is Adibhuta, what is karma. They gain, and that is the greatest wealth that you and I should aspire for, gaining clarity about what life is, what is truly important. All other knowledge which does serve a purpose, many of us have had a good livelihood thanks to our knowledge of science or maths. Somebody does this, somebody does that. Thanks to hard work, we go for some enterprise. We cross seas. We go far in search of a better standard of living. And we burn midnight oil. Professionals from our country, India, have gone to nook and corner of the world and have worked very hard. Some of them are such experts in their subjects, right? And yes, we pride over that. But after all of them are said and done, what makes our life truly a blessing is not that subject knowledge of economics or electronics, of some university subjects. They do have a place. We should never disrespect them. We actually salute those people who have excelled in those subjects. Even in political science, even in politics itself, who is not proud that somebody of Indian origin today is the finance minister of United Kingdom who once ruled us for a couple of centuries, right? Rishi Sunak is, and there was a little report other day in one of the newspapers that there is some chance that he may even become the Prime Minister of United Kingdom. Kamala Harris made it to Vice President of USA, right? So everything is possible. We do respect that. But finally, Rishi Sunak also, Kamala Harris also, Indra Nui also, everybody, or so many people who have accomplished things in the country itself, all of them sit down and wonder, what next? That question, what next, will dissolve only when you realize what is being spoken of here, Brahmajnana. In Brahmajnana, in a manner of saying, the question, what is next, vanishes, because time itself is looked at as a dimension of illusion. Till you gain Brahma Vidya, you think of yourself as moving on the axis of time. When you have clarity on Brahma Vidya, you know that time is a magic show going on in your consciousness. You are not walking on the axis of time. Space and time rise in your consciousness and vanish. They come and go. The whole world comes and goes in you. This is the Vedanta's bombshell. It turns everything upside down. So, the question, what next, will die when your ego dies. Time and space die. Desha and Kala die. Anyway, Aksharam Brahma Paramam. That Paramam Brahma. Why an adjective, Paramam Brahma? The word Brahma has dozens of meanings. The most well-known are Brahma can mean Omkara. At some places Brahma means Om. Brahma at some places in certain contexts of the scriptures can mean the Vedas. In the 3rd chapter, the word Brahma has been used in the sense of Vedas. That chakra, Anna Bhavanti Bhutani, Parjanya Adanna Sambhavaha. Like that, you have a cycle of 7 members. One of them is karma brahmodbhavam viddhi. All knowledge of karmas, Vaidika karmas, comes from the Vedas. The Vedas talk about numerous kinds of karmas. So from the Vedas come karmas is expressed karma brahmodbhavam viddhi. Brahma iti tatra Vedaha. The word Brahma can mean a Brahmana also in the Varna Vyavastha. And the word Brahma, of course, means the Chaturmukha Brahma, the creator, one of the Trinity, Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva. So there are many more really, and here the Paramam Brahma is meant. The Supreme Brahma is not a Brahmin. Swami Chinmayananji used to tease or shake these Jati Brahmins especially, saying, Brahma here is not that threaded variety, he would say. He would say threaded variety for the Brahmin, community. Brahma here is Paramam Brahma. Thread or no thread, there is no, no external marks. It is pure Sat Chit Ananda. Paramam Brahma eva Aksharam. Then what is Adhyatma? Swabhavaha. Swabhavaha is in every body, there is a certain nature. Though we are all the same truth ultimately agreed, but at a given point of time, how much have we expressed? What tendencies do we express? Children born to the same mother have different swabhava, right? So, pratyagatmataya pravrittam says Adi Shankara. Pratyagatmataya, in every bird deep inside, as though there is a bit of that Supreme Brahman, then it gets enveloped in its own personality traits. So in a way, this Adhyatma is no different from Paramam Brahma, but you see the word Adhyatma has two parts, Adhi and Atma. Atma means everyone, individual, because Brahma is the totality, Atma is the individuality. Atma is I am fond of saying, Atma is the inner truth of the individual. Jivasya rahasyam Atma. Vishwasya rahasyam, or we must say Sarvasya rahasyam Brahma. So you take everything and ask, what is the inner truth? Brahma. You take a person. What is she ultimately? Atma. Then Advaita Vedanta says, if you really get to know the intricacies, this inner truth of every individual and the inner truth of the entire universe are one only. That is gut, grand unification theory of Advaita Vedanta. In physics you have something called gut, grand unification theory. That is about finding that the four primary forces in this universe are really one only. The gravitational force, the electromagnetic force, the weak interaction force and the strong interaction force. The last two are in the atomic context. So these four are four fundamental forces and everything else is a derivation of them, and that's research, grand unification theory. And Advaita Vedanta went into the issue from a different angle of approach. Advaita Vedanta said, the truth of the Jivatma and the truth of the Paramatma are one and the same. The truth of Jiva, Jagat and Ishvara is one. So, Adhyatma is Svabhava, says Sri Krishna. So really it's no different from Paramam Brahma, but a contextual difference is indicated. That Brahma, when it is Adhi Atma, it is located. Adhi means where is it located? Or what is its reference? With reference to an individual being, that very supreme truth is referred to as Adhyatma. That's what Sri Shankaracharya also says. Pratyagatmataya. In everybody, turn inward, there is a certain truth. That is Adhyatma. Alright, let's go to the third one. And the third one again is a bit complex, especially if you want to know the traditional meaning. Karma. Sri Krishna has to answer 7 questions. Arjuna said, Kim tad Brahma, Kim Adhyatmam, Kim Karma? Third question. What is karma? In physics, work is force into distance. Suppose you go and try to push a huge rock. You try, and your hands pain. And 1 hour you tried, it did not move even 1 millimeter. Then you ask a physicist, how much work did I do in that last 1 hour? He says, okay, with respect to this rock and the work you did 0 because the rock did not move even 1 millimeter. Force, you exerted a lot of force, and I would extend that scenario. Work has taken place in his muscles, work has taken place elsewhere, because there is movement. Otherwise, why would he feel tired and pain and all that? But that physicist may take the context of the rock. The rock has not moved. Therefore, the work you have done on the rock is 0. Elsewhere, what is karma? Karma also has many meanings. Sorry, any study will involve, any study. Before leaving Chinmaya Mission, I had no idea of administration or finance, etc. I was only, in the initial days, by Pujya Swami Chinmayananji himself, I was made to give lectures. So I had to just study philosophy, Sanskrit, English, Sanskrit, philosophy, Sanskrit, English, philosophy, and go and give lectures. I messed up some administrative issues in Chinmaya Mission also. I won't give you details. Once it involved my friend Mohan Ejmadi also. I have not told him, I'll tell him later. Not much really, but a little bit. As the Acharya in the ashram, I took some decision. He was involved in that, some little scenario, 91 or 92. And next day Gurudev came from somewhere. He used to come and go, And he looked at me. Why did you take that decision? I said, Swamiji, I thought that is the best thing to do. I was lucky enough to enter Swami Chinmayananji's life when his anger had come down a lot. I tell you, if 10 years before I had come into his life, perhaps I would have got a heart attack. But in 91, I entered his life in 1980, but I took positions of responsibility many years later. 91, he would get angry, but looking at somebody like me, he would immediately soften. And the sentence I would quote is, he said to me, in these administrative matters, consult Rangan. Rangan was Ranganathan, the chief executive of CCMT, Central Chinmaya Mission Trust. In these matters, consult Rangan. Your Shankara Bhashya is okay for your classes. Use Shankara Bhashya as a pillow and, teach. But in these matters, consult Rangan, he said. Anyway, but later, in the 10 years I spent after leaving the mission in Varanasi, I learned so many words from utter basics. I didn't know what Provident Fund was. I didn't know what gratuity was. If during my Chinmaya Mission days, if somebody asks, Swamiji, what is gratuity? I would have given a lecture. Gratitude, is most important in life. You know. And gratitude in an adhyatmic context becomes gratuity. You understood? I had no idea. But there I took some administrative positions and after 10 years understood Pujya Swami Chinmayananda was right. I was meant only for teaching, not for those. So I ran away from Varanasi. Ran away literally, right? Now I don't touch administration and finance, etc. Hardly any. At the most I just take a look. So jargon, I am talking of jargon. If you are in administration, you have to learn what is gratuity, what is provident fund, and what is, even now I don't know some words like difference between retirement and what is that other word used? Superannuation. Yeah, there is some word superannuation. So it's full of, many of you know it in and out because you have worked in organizations, corporations, etc. So, sorry, here too, there is a little technicality, jargon. So, don't blame Geeta, that there are a lot of technical words. Any subject, some people have attempted spirituality without technicalities. Spirituality in lay language. We will teach you spirituality in plain language. There are teachers, let me not mention their names. And anybody would be attracted. Oh, really? That's what I was looking for. I want wisdom without technical words. You get into them, they don't use some Sanskrit words or some hi-fi Latin Greek words. They use plain language. But in their literature too, what meaning they attach to a plain word. For example, awareness. It's not a paribhashika shabda from awareness is, anyhow the word awareness is used. But what that particular teacher means when he uses the word awareness, in order to know it, you will take your own time. Therefore, it's not true to say this man's books have no jargon. They may not have special words, but so-called ordinary words are given special meaning. When somebody uses the word awareness, for example, they are not talking about awareness of drug menace, awareness of illiteracy in the world. They attach a very, very advanced meaning to that word awareness, to see thought without labeling it, without judging it, without trying to control it, to see thought with no bias, etc., etc., etc. They use the word awareness, a plain word, not jargon, not technical word, no Sanskrit, no Greek or Latin, but they actually use that word and they imply a lot of intricate things. Therefore, wherever you go, there you are. Please don't imagine that you can get wise through some shortcut. There is no shortcut. But the good news is, with a little patience, the words of Vedanta will become your friends. In fact, you will be thankful to the rishis for introducing these words. Now I am clear. With the help of words, technical words, you will be able to get moving. Therefore, especially traditional Vedanta teachers lay tremendous emphasis on knowing words. I don't regard myself as too traditional, nor am I too liberal. I am somewhere in between. It's again a spectrum. Somebody like Swami Paramarthananda in Chennai, in these times, he is pretty traditional, very traditional, lot of words. But I am 100% sure he himself would regard somebody else, as more traditional. The very fact that Swami Paramarthananda gives all his classes in English brings him a little down on the vertical scale of traditionality. In traditional teachings, it's so much of Indian languages and Sanskrit, etc. So what is this little bit intricate definition of karma about which I cautioned you? Sri Krishna says that is known as karma, karma sanjnitaha. Sanjnitaha means termed. Sanjna or sangya means naming something. Sanjna is name. That is name. That is called karma, where, first of all, there is a visarga. Visarga is not the two dots of grammar. Visarga is visarjana. All of you know in Bombay and other places, Ganapati Visarjana, right? The statue of Ganapati is taken and dropped in a water body. Or Vasarga doesn't have to be Ganapati. You take an apple in your hand and drop it on the table. Right? Or you take a morsel of food and put it in your mouth. Visarga is dropping, leaving. So Sri Krishna says Visarga is karma. Oh, dropping is karma. So action, unlike physics where it says you exert force and that object on which you exert force has to move some distance. F into D is W, that's the equation. Here it's not about moving something into distance. You drop something, okay, what does it do? I am talking of that visarjana, that visarga, which udbhava karaha, which causes the utpatti, which causes the rising of living beings, bhuta bhava, human beings and tigers, lions and all birds, aquatic creatures, microorganisms, anyone, anywhere having life. That is bhuta. Bhuta bhava. A child is born. All over the universe, children are born. On the earth, children are born. On the earth only, I guess, all life forms to our knowledge exist. So life forms all over the earth. Oh my God, can you imagine? At this moment, as you and I are talking about, about this Geeta, how many births might be taking place? Not only human babies, but babies of all kinds of, even in the sea, in a river, sometimes in some hidden corner, a baby, creature, a baby organism, a baby living being is coming out, finding its life starting. That is bhuta bhava udbhava karaha karma. You say, this is complex. So what is that we drop and some child is born or some baby is born? This is where I will give you the traditional meaning and then quickly give a liberal modern meaning. In the good old days, and even now for those who go by the Vedic vision, karma is Vaidika karma. And when you do Vaidika karma, the devatas are pleased. And Vaidika karma, actually, what happens in a karma is a certain karma phala is generated. And that karma phala is stored as apurva. It is to express itself at a later time. And then the Vedas describe the process in a rather figurative way, how that karma phala becomes a seed for a new life to be born, how it comes down through rain and so on, enters a plant, and then man and woman, they eat it. In the man, that essence which has been carrying the karma phala, imagine, of the yajna, of the yaga, of the homa, of the havana that you have done. Karma phala is carried by apurva, then the rains, then this plant, and then some grains, some fruit, and enters human beings. Good old days, with a bias towards men, it was mentioned, man then gets it. And from the man it goes to the woman. I would at this moment itself take the liberty. Why give that extra bias to man? It enters woman. It helps the ovum to grow, and here it helps the sperms to grow. So the sperms in the man and the ovum in the woman are carrying that karma phala. And when fertilization takes place, then over 9 months, the child is born. Bhuta bhava udbhava, child is born. Therefore, first the traditional meaning, that is karma which ultimately causes a new living being. New meaning only body is new. The soul is, the soul is very ancient. All of you are very ancient souls. Sri Krishna says this, Bahuni me vyatitani janmani me vyatitani tavacha. Chapter 4, Sri Krishna says, Arjuna, what are you talking? He is dying, she is dying, and so on. You and I have had many lives before. We will have many lives in future too. He said it in 2nd chapter too, and then in 4th chapter in the context of avatara, God's incarnation also he says this. So, the traditional meaning of karma is